Welcome back. It's a very exciting episode today. We're going to be painting this, getting everything bolted up, putting some fuel in it, pulling the cord and firing it up. Yep, I think 5 parts is probably enough for a build like this. So today is today. We're going to get this thing done. So I'm going to weld these last couple little bits of brackets on here, just get all that tidied up, grind a few little bits and bobs to make sure there's nothing too sharp because I've cut myself a few times. And then I'm going to bust out the paint, get it painted, get it all back together and then see what we're working with. But this should be fun. I'm looking forward to this bit. Right, and I've been squirreling away in the background like some weird Fiat slash weird car making squirrel. And I've been making loads of progress. Nothing worth necessarily showing you about because it's not all hugely interesting, but I'm going to give you a quick update now because we are at the point of painting this thing. I've got as far as I want to making it kind of look cool and functional. Now we've got to make it look a little bit better so I can get this darn thing started up. So I'm going to flip the camera around. I'm going to show you what my little pesky plans have been going. Take a look. You will notice that the fuel tank is mounted. It's just one self-tapping screw holding it in. Job done. I actually have got this as well. I just happen to have some of these little valves where it lets the air go through. So obviously as you're using fuel up, it doesn't just have nowhere to go. It actually lets the air in. But if you tip over, the fuel doesn't come out the top. There you go. No idea why I've got a spare one of those. I've got the battery temporarily mounted, as you can tell, with the old strap. I've sawed a few other little bits as well, and it's a little bit more welded. I've actually put a little bracket, a little bit of extra brace on this because I didn't feel like this bracket for the engine was strong enough, and that's trying that up a treat. And my last piece of absolute genius is taking the twist throttle cable that used to be on the handlebars. I've cut it down, flipped it round, made a little bracket for it. So I've welded on a piece of handlebar here and a couple of self-tapping screws. Bit of a cable tie for now. I may figure out something better for it than that. But that's it. There's your foot control. I don't know how long it's going to last. It's not the best quality hand control in the world, so chances are someone's going to stamp on this a bit hard and it's going to snap. And I'm sure that the wire is going to have to take a little bit of a weird route as well, but it's going to work. So now, basically, yeah, I think it's time to paint it. Now, your average Joe here would take the wheels off, all of the brake calipers, all the stuff, take the fuel tank, take the thing off there, blah, 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 blah. I'm not doing that because, quite frankly, I can't be bothered. So what I'm doing is this bit where I've lengthened these, that's going to be graphite grey because I've got a special hammered finish paint for that. These brackets here and here that basically widened out these lower arms, they're going to be graphite grey because I can paint that on as well. And then I'm essentially going to mask the bike off. I'm not really sure where yet, either from here or there. And then this whole half of the frame, all this middle bit, all the way up to about here, even this top bit, but not from there down, will be white. So I've got some special straight onto rust paint, so I don't have to worry about grinding all this back. It'll just convert it to metal, it says, and then protect it and paint it and a whole shebang. Because let's face it, a lot of this is being covered by the fairing that I now can't see. The main fairing is going to go on here, and that'll be the bit that I'll paint to be extra cool. Still haven't sorted out wheels, so I can't find any that's going to fit. So without further ado, time to whack on the time lapse, get me some paint and some spray, get the old doors open for a bit of ventilation, crack this out. Let's paint this sucker. And there you go. I never said it was going to be a good paint job. If I'm honest with you, I've kind of lost interest in stripping the whole thing down to paint it, and that's never what this thing was about anyway. This stuff here is straight to rust paint, so obviously I didn't have to grind everything back, so I just wanted to get it all coated to stop it rusting to a million pieces. It's come out pretty good. It's come out good enough, but let's not forget that most of it is being covered with a cut down version of this once it's actually dried. So this will be the thing that I'll try and put a little bit more effort in, take the seat off, make sure this is painted decent, get it on some worn out racing colours and get it chucked on. But I'm very much glad I did this outside because this stuff throws out some serious fumes. But either way, it's going to take a little while for this to dry up. I'll start tidying everything. We'll get it all fitted back on, engine, exhaust, fuel tank, the whole shebang, get it all wired through, then get this fitted, and then we'll see whether it fires up like I really hope that it does after all this effort. Right, it's so nice outside. I'm going to give myself 45 minutes. I'm going to push it outside, 45 minutes to get this whole thing back together, fuel tank in, fuel lines on, engine bolted up, exhaust bolted up, everything basically done, so it's near enough ready to start. Now I have changed the accelerator cable, the pedal, because I didn't like it. I didn't think it was going to work. It's too clunky, it's too rubbish, but I'll show you that in a minute. Either way, outside, tripod set up, let's knock this out of the park. Right, I'm going to call this sort of the midway point, I suppose. It's all powered up, engine looking up, and I tell you what, it is looking wicked. But I was a bit worried it was looking a bit rough with a slightly dodgy paint job, but the more stuff that goes on it, the better it's looking. So, like I said, I've managed to get the exhaust on, and you will think, oh my God, that's really wonky. No, the frame's wonky. The build quality of this thing is so bad that actually the frame isn't even sat right. So I've got no idea what's going on there. But anyway, so next up, what I've got to do is route this, which is the rear handbrake. I'm going to run this all the way up like this with some cable ties, and it's going to go down and round and up into the bottom of here. I've actually added the kill switch. This turns on and off onto the actual handbrake arm, because obviously only the top moves. So then if you ever need to stop or you fall off, pulls it off from there. Got the chain on, it's got to put the battery in. I think it's going to have to sit back a bit further than I thought. Obviously I haven't got any heat shielding or anything on this yet, because we'll worry about that in a minute, but otherwise making good progress. Fuel tank up, a few fuel lines. We are getting close. Now, one thing I definitely can't take for granted here is the fact that this is a plastic fuel tank, and I don't fancy having this between my legs, mounting, setting fire and blowing up. So I managed to have some of this left over from the turbo build a while back when I put the exhaust right, obviously passing the fuel tank. I put some of this up on the actual tank itself. This is like a double-sided sort of sticky stuff, but that should be good. I'm just going to coat the bottom of this and just have enough space for this to poke through, and hopefully that'll stop it getting too warm. There you go, just like that. You don't have to worry about making it look good. It's just got to do the job and stop everything getting too hot. Well, the weather's gone rubbish, so I'm back in the garage. And for any of you who've been shouting at the screen throughout this whole episode about the battery that I was trying to fit to this, I've been overthinking it. I think I'm far too many years messing around with real motorbikes and real cars that I was thinking, of course it needs a battery. It's a petrol engine, but it doesn't. They're self-contained units. Completely forgot. I was looking at some wiring stuff and I was like, wait. So really all it is that wire to the kill switch just earths it to the actual frame. So when you do that, it kills the engine. But otherwise, when you pull start it, it creates its own energy. It's got a little magneto type thing in it. So I was being an idiot, which is great because I was really struggling to find somewhere to put the battery. So that removes that whole job, and it makes doing this kill switch way easier because now I understand what the heck I need to do. So it's very much a case of running that to an earth on the frame. So I'll just find a hole somewhere and bolt that onto it. Done. Simple job. So I'm going to knock that out, sort the pedal out, show you that in a second. And I'm just struggling a little bit with the fuel lines because I don't want them too close to the exhaust. The fuel lines I've got, if I'm honest, are a little on the small side for the actual dovetail kind of fittings. We'll worry about that in a minute. I'm making it work as I do most things. But yeah, I thought I'd just share that with you while I was drinking my tea and then realise what an idiot I've been. So, happens to everyone. Here we go. This is exactly what I was talking about. So there's only one wire that comes out of the actual engine. So that comes from the magneto, whatever you want to call it. And then the other end goes, if I can just grab it, one end goes to this, so the red side, and then this one bolts to the frame. So what happens is, when you pull that, it either breaks the earth or creates the earth, and it shuts it off. So weirdly, even though this all came as part of a kit, they actually put a bullet connector on here, even though the engine is a spade connector. So good one. But either way, I've got my trusty set. This comes for another top tip from Worn Out Racing. Rather than using those terrible crimping type connectors you get, the ones with like the red and blue hard plastic that you crimp with one of those little weird crimpers, this is the best thing you will get if you ever have to do welding. It was about £25, I'm going to say. You get this awesome crimper instead, so it does it properly, and what you will get is this massive set of all these proper crimps with the little waterproof covers. So you just slip a waterproof cover over whichever size you want, and this includes pins and all sorts. I promise you, you won't regret it. There you go. I found a spade connector that will do the job. So I'll get that crimped on. Jobs are good. And there you go. That's it done. It's determined not to focus on this tiny wire, but trust me, look how much nicer and neater that is, and it won't just fall apart next time you put any kind of resistance on it. So anyway, that's enough talk about wiring. Let's get on to some more interesting stuff. Right, it's looking pretty good with the fuel line as well. Now, you may think that is pretty close to the exhaust, and you'd be right. So I might try and get like maybe a little bit of a heat wrap or heat shield on this. But thankfully now the tank is mounted. This is a relatively short piece of pipe, so it shouldn't move too much. I can't really see a situation when that's going to move over. I can't do anything about it being near the exhaust. So obviously, if it's ever spring a leak, there's every possibility it might set on fire. But yeah, every time I build anything, there's a chance it might set on fire. So there's no point worrying about it too much. So I'm going to take that as a win as well. That's in. Just got to bolt the wire up onto the frame. Do you know that? Do you know, worryingly, that might actually be it. I think that might be it. Put fuel in it. Try and start it, I guess. Now, in truth, I don't actually remember where I got to in the last video, but the weather has been so nice, I've been working on this outside, so I've done a little bit of a change. I was originally going to have a foot pedal here for the accelerator, but in the end, I've gone for up here instead. So I just basically ran the cable around, up and into the back of there, which it took a little bit of figuring out how to do that. But otherwise, now, it's a little bit better, because obviously if you hit a bump and your foot's on the pedal, you're just going to accelerate or come off it or whatever. So that should, hopefully, work all right. I literally just took the original bracket that I made, bent it, and then bolted it through the steering wheel. So that's working out a treat. Now next is this, because I realised that before the electric motor sat here, which meant the chain was only really small, so obviously this cover was covering the whole thing, and I don't fancy getting my leg chewed up by this thing. So I've just done a little bit of mesh, a couple of holes, a couple of cable ties, just so, you know, within reason now, if you put your leg against that, it is not going to do anything. And that's it. It's done. There is literally nothing else left to do. I mean, this is still a little bit loose. It needs a little bar on there, but I did do something stupid. If you'll follow me, I sat on this to test fit some other bits that are on, and I didn't have the bolt that bolts this on through the hole. It was actually sat on the metal, so I snapped it clean out. You probably can't even see that, but it is wrecked. So I've got the JB weld on it. I mean, I don't know how long that's going to last, but whatever. So stick that on. But what I need to do now really is take these side bits off, paint this bad boy up, bolt it all on, start it. So the next time you see this, this will be painted in some manner or one or another. The seat will be bolted on. This will be bolted onto the quad. The tyres will be pumped up. It will actually have some two-stroke and some fuel in it. I really wish I'd kept some from the track days, so I didn't have to go and buy like £2 worth of fuel. And we're going to see if it starts, see if it's really loud, see if it moves, see if it stops, figure out what the heck I'm even going to do with it, because chances are, I mean, what am I going to do with it? It's a mini quad. I'm a 6'4" 40-year-old man with a mini quad that's almost certainly going to be too loud. And obviously I need to crack on with this as well. As you will see, I started taking some bits off. Let's not jump into that yet. So, yeah, roll the beauty shot in 3, 2, 1, go. There you go, it's finished. Finito. Nothing left to do. Now cut to the video of me absolutely tearing down the street in it. Yeah, it doesn't work. Well, that's not true. It starts up first pull of the cord, straight up, ticks along beautifully. Although I will say the exhaust company that sold me the exhaust mufflers for it is full of shit, because there is no way that they are actually doing much, because it is seriously loud still, but whatever, I'll deal with that anyway. But there's something up. I think that basically when you put the accelerator, it starts to build revs and then just kind of plateaus really low down. It moves a tiny little bit and then nothing happens. The chain does keep coming off, so I know it's not lined up properly, so I'll have to figure that out. But I think with the size wheels, the size cog, and the engine and the clutch, I think the clutch just engages way too low down and the engine hasn't really got up into its power band. So I think it needs a bit of a stronger clutch on it. That'll let the engine rev a lot more before it bites, and then hopefully it'll work. I hope that's what it is anyway. I've checked the clutch, it looks brand new. It's a brand new engine. So for the time being at least, assume it's done. I'm going to stick it in the garden while I crack on with some other stuff. I'm getting a little bit further with this bad boy now, and I've got loads of stuff to do before August, before the next track day. So for the time being, mini quad is finished. I will report back once I figure out what's wrong with it. And hopefully I'll be able to take it down to Fox Hill, which is a motocross track not too far from me. I've got to give them a call, see if there's anywhere I can just take it to mess around on it. I don't want to go on the actual track, flipping out, I'd kill myself. But anyway, so yeah, thanks for joining me for this really random build. There was no reason for me to do it other than just because it was cool. Stay tuned for more builds of things I thought were cool, even though there's no use for them whatsoever. Thanks for stopping by.